Okay, welcome folks. It's that time of the month again, and I have another two Visionary Realms legends with me today. We have Customer Service Manager Michael Artois, Butler, and Associate Community Manager Jason Medawky, Bolton. If you want to say g'day, guys.
Hey, how's everybody doing? Thanks for having us.
I'm not going to say good day, I'm not Australian, but hello everybody.
I tried. Let's see if it'll rub off. G'day, mate. Alright, so we've got a list of questions here as per usual. The topic today is CS, customer service, plus general Q&A, which revolves around customer service, which is all things, in-game and out. And we'll go through this list, and at the end we'll have an open question section as per usual, and we've got a little bit of news that we'll kind of share with you guys at the end too. So to get it started, we will start with the first one. So, has more thought been given to the guide program, such as how it will be implemented and what the duties of the guides will be, or will there be one at all? Do we have anything we can say about that?
Yeah,
we do.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'll start, and I'm going to push it over to you because you've got a lot of experience in the guide piece. So we've heard this a lot, and while we like the idea of volunteer, the legal climate, the HR climate for something similar to how EQ did with the volunteer guide program is just not something that's going to be able to happen anymore due to different legalities. We're looking at some different ideas and ways to have volunteers involved, because we do want that to be in Pantheon, but there are, again, some legal hurdles that we have to go over. I'm going to let Jason speak a little bit about this, because he was a long time volunteer and guide for some games, and he can probably fill in a little bit of as far as the approach that we're thinking about.
Yes, I don't know if anyone else was ever an EverQuest guide or did any other sort of those programs, but in EverQuest, basically, you worked a lot of hours for a free monthly subscription, and there was reports to be done at the end of your shift, and there was a lot, and it came down to a wage rights thing, an employee-employer relationship thing, and like Mike alluded to, basically that can never happen again due to litigations. So we are looking at a guide program. That was one of the things that Brad was really big on. That was one of his, he loves that idea, and probably if for no other reason, sorry about that, music for you in the background, if for no other reason, we want to adhere to his vision. So we will have some sort of program. I mean, there's talks in the works. I don't want to make any grand promises or anything, but if we can develop some sort of a program where we have knowledgeable players who are in a specific channel, and they can dispense knowledge to new players or to players who are having a question, they can help kind of move them through the game. Not someone who's necessarily giving answers, or if they can, but more along the lines of, have you tried doing this? Have you done that? Have you talked to this NPC? So kind of like a general chat channel, but with actual helpful people instead of maybe just the random world at large, with some sort of oversight. But I don't really think it's going to look like whatever Quest's guide program looks like. But we still have some time here to figure that out, and it's one of the things there's a lot of us working on it, and we're passionate about it as well.
Yeah, good stuff. I can't wait myself for the guide program. Something we've been working on and talking about, trying to fine-tune for a very long time. So it's good to see that we're at that kind of end now, where we can start looking at things and use testing as an example to get some people in to help us build it up. Okay, so will there be some kind of naming policy? In other words, can someone make a character named Tugging My Groin? That example was from EverQuest's original website, as an example of names not allowed, or character names that form sentences. So where do we kind of stand on the whole naming policy?
Yeah. So the naming policy is going to be very similar to what you saw in EverQuest is really the direction we're trying to go. Obviously, any copyrighted names, any intellectual property names are not going to be able to be used because that's, again, a legality issue. And any offensive names, anything that's kind of a play on any popular memes or popular culture, those again will be ones that we will be looking at and asking people to give us a different name to change those. If they're very offensive, we just could change them on our own, and then you can give us another name for it. But yeah, we want to make it a pleasurable experience for people when they're playing, that we don't want people to be offended by a name that they see, which has happened. Some people do that as a way of griefing. And but we also want to adhere to the high fantasy, planar fantasy setting that we're creating. We want people to feel that when you're in the game, you're immersed in the game, and what you see there is not going to break that feeling of what you're experiencing. Jason, did you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I know we had talked about, like, if you have a clever name that's, a play on words or a twist of a phrase that isn't just egregiously terrible or horrible, that's probably not the kind of thing that's going to get changed. If you have a long time nickname that's Blades or something of that nature, that's not going to get changed. We may even have separate rule set servers that have strict naming adherence policies and others that are a little more lax. But yeah, basically, we want to help with immersion, but we're also not going to break up like a long time name that you've had. But it can't be Dritzed. Sorry, you can't be Galadriel. That just probably, there's some forces at work that would smack that down, and it wouldn't be internal from us. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. One other thing I'd like to kind of add to that is, the community. We were going to rely on the community a lot to, because we're not going to see all the names. It's not going to be like we're going to be clicking on every character that you create and approving or denying. That's just not feasible. But people will let us know, like, hey, this doesn't sound right, and then we can investigate. I can remember back to early beta in EQ, and I was running around just as a tester, because that's how I got started. And I made a character. I can't remember. It was a rogue, but it had some I thought was a clever name, and I actually got tells from the top rogue at the time that was in beta, and he's like, "Come on, man, you can do better than that." And I really felt like, oh, I want to portray myself a little bit better, and so I went ahead and deleted and created a new character. So it's kind of that community feel, and I think we already have that in a ways that people want to be known a certain way, and we don't want to step on your personality, but we also don't want people to be offended by something that you put in there.
Yeah, that's right. I was trying to find that balance. It's not totally unbelievable and immersion breaking, but also we want kind of names. I don't know if we can look at doing like a name generator. I know the community's pretty skillful with things like that. You usually get like a name generator created around our kind of text and lore and classes, races and that too. So it'd be interesting to see if anything like that goes up. Okay, so is it expected that support will be in-game only, website only, or some combination of the two?
It's going to be a combination. So I'm looking at technology-wise how things are handled in other games. There's also a lot of times where you just don't want to wait for that one person or somebody to log in or to get to your ticket to handle that. So we're really evaluating the types of issues that people would have that could be solved either by a bot that we have that can give you the answer if it's a web thing or an email, even some things in game, maybe some in-game tools that you can use if you needed to have something taken care of in game, and it's a pretty quick thing that it might be able to do that and log, and it sends us all the information, but it's just handled. And then that frees up our CS representatives to handle the trickier issues, the ones that would be, say, something like a griefing or bigger account-related issues, or any of those type of behavioral things that might happen during gameplay that is person to person. those are things that are going to require usually a mediator. But the stuff that's mechanic in the game, a lost item, a quest that's not working correctly, or you turn in the wrong item, or things like that, those all should be able to be scripted in some sense, where it's easier for that to be taken care of and resolved without actually having to have a human touch on those.
Yeah, that's a good answer, mate.
Yeah, we definitely want to have as much self-serve as we can for the technology, whatever that looks like and whatever it meant out to be. But that is definitely a high priority. We really want, we believe in self-serve for those things that allow it.
Yeah, cool. Just to touch on the... Oh, sorry, go for it, mate.
Well, I was going to say, there's a lot of, everybody knows we're a small independent company. Right now, CS is made up of Jason and myself. We handle everything that's here now because we don't have a lot of, tickets that are coming in that obviously for gameplay and things like that. But there are third-party companies that can help augment and come alongside, that can handle some of those issues that we needed and can help us without having to really grow the costs involved for us to give a stellar, 5-star customer support. And that's really what we're striving for. We want to have a great service that we provide, just like Pantheon is going to be a 5-star product. So that might mean that there's going to be, like we said, a mix of self-service, as Jason said, maybe a mixture of people who are contracted to help us, as well as our own staff folks who can come in and handle the issues. So we're going to use whatever tools that we can find that are going to get us to that best level of support.
Yeah, that's nice, mate. That's a good answer. Again, just trying to find that balance. It's tough, but I think we'll get there. Especially with the community's help too. I think, look, I want to touch on the website as well because it came up a little bit. So customer service isn't really in charge of the website per se. We've got a web dev team that look after the website and building the website, the forums, all that kind of stuff. Myself, I'm the lead moderator, and at the moment the only moderator. So I do all the back end stuff with admin and user accounts and permissions and all that kind of stuff. If punishment if need be. But yeah, the CS team isn't really responsible for the website. We do have some news on that coming up, but I don't want to get anyone's hopes up or spoil anything, so we'll save that for another time. So does the customer service team have a plan for how they will handle complaints against players who are causing zone disruptions or intentionally griefing others?
Yeah, we haven't put together the whole policy. I can tell you we've had, in some of the PA sessions we've had issues that have been brought to us, and we've had to mediate those. We don't have a firm policy yet, but again, this evolves over time as we see both what tools we have as well as what remediation methods that we can use. I know that some of the things that Jason has dealt with, especially in some of our PA sessions, as well as his time as guide, helps a lot with this because we're kind of coming up with what's the best way that we can handle these. These are the types of these person-to-person interactions that would be handled by a customer support representative. It takes time. That's each one of these things takes time, and there will be different levels of, I'm not going to say punishments, but more of remediation for it. So whether it would be something of letting the person cool off for a little bit that they can't log in, where we talk to them about it, it gets logged, all of the offenses, and then as those add up, then it can get to the point where they could potentially be suspended or even banned, depending on how bad it is.
Yes, nice.
Yeah, there's definitely going to be observation first. We'll be, if it's an in-game issue that requires a GM, we're definitely going to be observing first and doing our best to determine what the nature of the infraction is or the intent. And that's getting to the intent is kind of the hardest part. But we're pretty skilled at it, and we're also going to bring in skilled people to be our in-game GMs as well. So, if it's plainly obvious that someone's griefing or trying to exploit, there's going to be steps I mean, we're not going to immediately pull out the ban hammer, but it's going to be behind the other hand. So there's not going to be there's not going to be a lot of tolerance for awful behavior. I mean, people who are just trying to get a leg up or maybe inadvertently doing things. I mean, we're going to obviously, like Mike said, remediation is going to be the main thing. Sometimes it's just going to be education. Other times it's going to be stern talking to. There'll be a process for sure, and we've got a lot of that. We've got a lot of that sketched out.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think that a lot of it comes down to, and I think almost everybody in the channel can probably agree that as you play, especially in MMOs, and you come across other people, it's a social interaction, and sometimes it's the intent. Sometimes you don't know what the intentions are of the person, or if they're doing it for whatever reason, and that's what we try to get down to, is really find out what's causing this behavior, and then that leads us to what steps we need to remediate it and bring that back into acceptable behavior. I want to say, as far as I know, there's a hot button topic was always like a play nice policy, things like that. I think that what you probably would see is more of a here's what's expected of players, but not like spelled out all the way through, because there's no way we're ever going to be able to spell out every single thing that's approved and unapproved. And also, when you lay that down into stone, then you have people like, oh, I can skirt around this and do this. We look at, for the most part, it's always going to be intent. It's going to be looking at what was the person intending to do. Are they trying to prevent somebody else from enjoying their experience, or is it something just inadvertently happened, or it's the heat of the moment type of disagreement?
Or is it part of the game mechanics? Are two guilds racing for the same kill? I mean, that kind of stuff's going to police itself internally, and that's another facet of the game, is that where we say community matters. Your name's going to matter. Your reputation's going to matter. Sometimes we're not going to have to do much because other players will. That person won't get a group, or that guild's going to get a bad reputation, or there's natural consequences to action. Another thing we believe is that punishment fits the crime. So I mean, like if two guilds are racing for a contested target, and there's some back and forth, and that's probably part of the game. That's probably not even an issue that we're going to get involved in, because that's not an exploitation. That's not hacking. That's not cheating. That's gameplay. And
that's
so
it. Unless
that'll be the fine line. Yeah,
that's right. And unless there's some malicious intent, like continuously training so you're unable to make the kill, or do something like that, then that's something where we would step in. But other than that, there's you guys are adults and can work stuff out like that yourselves.
Exactly. Or somebody following around a lower level player and stealing every single thing that they're trying to do. That's an intentional act, and it's wrecking the experience of the other person. So that's something that is not, that definitely would have a talking to. Why are you doing this? And then we would move people, basically move along type of thing, and hopefully let it dissipate, let it cool down, and everybody goes back to normal.
Yeah, exactly.
Most people know there's a line, and most people know when they've stepped it.
Yeah, that's right. And people like to push to see where that line is too. So sometimes when they find it, they know how far they can push next time. So, moving on, we've got a question about the company. So how does VR plan to handle in-game issues with a smaller team? Basically, I think our management system, like back-end CS, reporting, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I kind of talked about this a little bit when I was talking about the different technology and things. We are, as an independent team, we still don't want to, grow to this huge thing where we've got all sorts of people handling every single ticket that comes in. We want to use that technology because that also helps getting everybody resolved a lot quicker. We haven't settled on any ticketing system as of yet, but our plan is to have something that's going to integrate within the game. It's also going to integrate within, a website portal that you can go in and check your status of your tickets. You can respond to things that way. We will do automatic triaging. Things will be escalated to people to have physical eyes on it to work those issues. We're definitely cost conscious. It's one of the big things to look at. Support is difficult in a lot of ways, especially for games that it can be costly as you bring on more and more people to support it. So you look for ways that can help mitigate that cost, but also not degrade your service.
Yeah, good answer. Okay, so going back to the guide program too, has there been more thought put into the guide program, and if so, are you going to give guides the tools necessary to handle issues in game? So I know we did speak about that, but like GM light kind of abilities, so like stuck characters, possible zone disruptions.
Yeah. So that's that legal line that we're dealing with. Basically, the bottom line is that you can't have volunteers that are doing the same type of role or the same things that you're paying other people to do that you're within your company. So that's kind of the sticky point that has hit a lot of different companies, so that they have to look at. Some of the things you're talking about, though, like if you're stuck and things like that, those are some stuff that we're hoping to be able to do with in-game tools that would allow the player to be able to resolve some of those issues. Now, obviously, there's reasons that you would look at it and say there could be for abuse. People could use those things, but everything would obviously be logged and investigated probably after the fact, so we can look and see if certain people are abusing things in a way, because we will be logging most everything, because it's just the way that we handle all the data. But yeah, it's a sticky issue legally that we just can't go down that road to give people that ability at a volunteer basis.
Yeah, nice. That's a good explanation. Again, it's kind of like how you touched on it before with the CS stuff and everything, like doing the best we can with GMs and letting the community kind of sort it out and using the report button to log official stuff. But anything we can kind of offload to your guides and stuff like that, and friendly service and help will be a big help to us without getting into legal trouble. Okay, so is an actual website for the live service MMO being planned or developed, even if it's not rolled out yet? Again, this is touching on websites, so we can't really go there yet.
Well, we can say yes. I mean, obviously that is something that will be done. Again, the resources on the team, everybody's focusing on other things right now. However, this is being addressed. It's being worked on. We just don't have anything we can share at this time. But I can tell you that a lot of the tools that I'm looking to do for CS when we launch, there are web components to that, and they need to be integrated into all the account pieces and things like that. So yes, that will be there. When it's going to be there, I can't tell you what it's going to look like. I can't share any of that right now.
They want an
I
exact
could tell
date,
them what some of it looks like. I'm just not going to.
They want an exact
that's
date,
not this
guys.
stream.
If you could just say that and write that down for them.
I could technically tell them what a lot of this is going to look like.
So the exact date would be before we launch. How's that?
Yeah, nice. Well played, sir. Okay, so this is a kind of prediction. You guys have got CS experience, and as being players and staff prior to Visionary Realms and Pantheon, you will kind of know what to deal with. But we've got somebody asking, once Pantheon goes live, what issues do you foresee the CS team having to deal with the most, and what plans do we have to deal with those issues? I can say that we've put like a policy in place as a kind of a disciplinary policy, because I wrote it myself, that has stages of how to act. But yeah, what you're going to deal with the most, I think you guys can probably have a better understanding than me of what's going to pop up.
Yeah, Jason, why don't you can share some of the stuff. You have a lot more experience in regards to that.
That's such an open-ended question. Like, I don't even know where to...
Like, do you think people reporting others for training and stuff like that, kill stealing? Like, what do you think the most issues are going to be?
I'm sure there's going to be some kill stealing. I mean, I'm sure that's just... And maybe there's not actual kill stealing. Maybe there's perceived kill stealing. Maybe there's perceived training. That guy just trained me. Maybe that guy,
when actually he was running for his dear life trying to survive himself and didn't know you were there.
Yeah, or he has a potato and his graphics card hasn't even rendered that you're there and he didn't know. Well, why didn't he shout train to zone? Maybe he did, and he has such huge lag spikes right now that you're going to get the train to zone in 3, 2, loading. Please wait. So, I mean, and there's a lot of dungeons that are going to have and you've seen in our streams, we've got a lot of Z-axis stuff. I mean, there's going to be a lot of fun there. I mean, the people that enjoy some chaos and some adaptability and should always bring an enchanter into some of these dungeons are going to enjoy that. There's other people that are more stoic or just reserved, and they don't like they want things kind of slow and low. Maybe there's places that you don't want to go in certain times of the day. But I mean, I think especially as the game's new and we're all exploring the world together, I think there's going to be a lot of stuck, a lot of trapped, a lot of I can't get out. There's a lot of that sort of thing. And then, like Mike said, we want to have a lot of technology to help with that. And that might be something that the guides will be able to help with. And maybe not necessarily actually physically removing players having tools, but having the expertise and the knowledge to know how to use the automated tools. And I'm anticipatory of what we're going to see. I'm kind of excited by some of it. I'm really looking forward to PA5. I'm really looking forward. But we're going to have a little bit more focused testing probably in PA5, but we can talk about that later. But I'm really looking forward to the later stages of testing like alpha, because I think that's going to give us the clearest snapshot to date of what's really going on. I'm just excited to see how the team's going to tackle it. We've got a lot of really sharp people, and they got to meet Kyle last night, and Kyle's amazing. Like some of the stuff he's coming out with that we can't talk about here publicly it's unbelievable. Like you guys are going to you're going to love it. We can't wait to share it with you.
Yeah, I think, and some of the other things as far as what we will see, and I'm expecting to see, unfortunately, kind of the negative side is harassment. We all know the nature of online societies and how things go, but there will be people who are going to harass people, and those are things that we, definitely we're going to be involved in as far as clamping down on that and resolving those, because it's just, again, it's coming down to ruining that enjoyment for somebody else, and that they don't feel that they can log in to Pantheon for whatever reason. I mean, we don't want that to be that. We don't want to have our game be negatively associated with an experience for somebody where they just don't feel that they can be part of it anymore because of how they were treated in a certain way.
Yeah, I mean that's completely outside of like a plain ice debate. That's targeted individual harassment, and that's never going to fly, and that ain't going to work. Like if that's who you are and that's the way you are to people, don't worry about it. you won't be long.
Yeah, we don't tolerate that kind of stuff. Community is important to us, and as much as we want to allow everyone to self-police when stuff like that happens, or there's direct harassment or anything, then we'll step in without hesitation. Okay, so 2 more questions to go from the list, which will take us to around the halfway 35-minute mark, and then we can open it up to live questions for as long as we need until we finish. Alright, so what time goal is set for issue resolution during gameplay? So I don't really think we can answer that. Basically, maybe 24, 48 hour turnaround or something?
That's a moving target. Like Mike said, we're going to auto triage. So some things are going to be way more, something that's preventing gameplay, that's a technical issue, that's going to be triaged one way, and then in-game issues like I looted these pants and now they are not on my character anymore, that might fall a little bit farther down the wayside.
Yeah, part of the thing we look at is as we continue to mature the processes and look at the type of requests that we get. And those are things that we will be doing, and we have done throughout PA, and as we move into later stages of pre-release testing. We'll find out which ones are going to be easier to resolve, and which ones are going to be harder. Because for most cases, about 80% of your problems are going to be able to be solved pretty quickly. Because they're going to be, an item's missing, or somebody stuck, or any of those type of things. And then it's that other 20%, maybe even 10% of it, that is going to require some more comprehensive investigation, where we're having to look at more logs. We're having to go back and talk to a programmer maybe about what we're seeing, and those generally will, take longer to get a resolution. But for the most part, we'll try to put out a almost like a service level agreement, saying that this is what we're trying to resolve the tickets within X amount of time. And because we do have to report that. That's one of the things as a service desk that I would be reporting higher up into the company and saying, here's where our numbers look like as far as the metrics. So it's definitely something we're aware of, and something that we plan for. We just haven't got it set in stone yet.
Yeah, and we want to scale the level of service that appropriately to the population, and we always want to provide excellent customer service no matter what. So whether it's just an acknowledgement of the ticket and the process has started, we're going to strive to get back to people quickly. We may not be able to resolve the problem quickly just due to technical issues or just to the nature of the problem itself, but we're definitely going to respond quickly.
Yeah, that's it. I'll get some kind of response, like acknowledgement, and then depending on the seriousness of it and the volume of traffic and tickets, it'll depend on how long it can be dealt with. Serious ones will obviously take
hopefully more than just a canned response. Like anybody can do a canned response. I can auto reply to every email, but I mean, we want to actually have someone put eyes on the ticket and let you know, hey, we've seen your ticket and we've triaged it, and we will get back to you, within this time frame.
Yeah, exactly. All right, the last question for the thread is something we can't talk about. So I guess I'm not really sure this is
what was it?
CS related, but Pantheon having a monthly sub-payment model, what kind of price can we expect to see? Most MMOs say around 15 a month, but cash shops supplement income. With Pantheon abstaining from cash shops, will $15 be enough to cover? So look, we can't really talk about that. We don't know. And $15 is technically the kind of industry standard, but we don't follow the standard. We'll do whatever's best for us. You can't expect it to be we won't price gouge or set it too high for our clientele, like our customers, but our community, but it's more about getting that monthly sub in there to whatever suits us and whatever's reasonable in the time that we launch the game.
We have to charge Australia and Canadians more, just as a matter of
just principle.
It's obviously going to be evaluated as we move closer to release. That's something that usually comes later in the process. It always has in the other games that I've worked.
Yeah, and it's not cut. It's not like cut and clean. It'll depend on the market at the time, and competitors, and what we need as a business to survive, and all that kind of stuff. What our community would be willing to pay and all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot that goes into it. It's not just chucking a number out there. $15 seems like an industry standard, but people bounce all over the place. Whatever works well for us, we will implement at the time and see how it goes from there. But that's kind of like the higher ups decide all that. That won't be something that we deal with community management or customer service.
One of those guys.
I'll have to get one of those guys on. They won't be able to talk about anything. Just pick a next question. Okay, so we are done with the questions. If you guys have anything that tickled your fancy throughout that and you want to know a little bit more information, or it sparked interest in another question, feel free to tag me and post it in the channel now, and we'll go through and answer as many as we can. Typically the dev roundtables go for 45 minutes minimum to around an hour maximum, hard capped. We're at the 35-minute mark, so if you guys want to chuck in as many questions as you want, we can have a chat. When you're finished, I'll get Mike and Jason just to share some info with you at the end. Take us through. Alright, so play nice policy. VR has decades of MMORPG experience. Will they use that to produce a play nice policy in order to A, avoid thousands of unnecessary reports, and B, let people know what kind of behaviour is unacceptable? So we don't really have a written play nice policy, as we touched on earlier. We do have basic disciplinary guidelines and policies that, you know, myself and other people have written that all play a hand in how we kind of take action and what levels of action we take against what issues. Some of those have been outlined, some of those have been generalized, some of those we wouldn't have logged, and something will pop up where we think, okay, well, we haven't got anything written on this. This is, you know, setting a precedent that we need to kind of act on, and we will discuss amongst ourselves, you know, what the best course of action will be for any given incident. But we don't actually have a play nice policy rule written, and as Mike said, it's too complicated and would be too big to write a play nice policy and cover every possible action and scenario to satisfy.
And that's a great point, because if someone comes along and says, well, I did this, but it's not in your play nice policy, but it's clearly egregious and it's clearly something that needs discipline, and then we're backed into a corner because it's not in a written policy. Like, I know what Disposalist is getting at. I get it. I think it's going to be somewhere in the middle of what.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not going to allow. Well, we're not here to allow people to ruin other people's fun. But we're also not going to police two guilds going after a target, man.
I think that I was at SOE during the time of the Play Nice policy was implemented. While I wasn't in CS at that time, I did see. They were right outside where my team worked, so we got to see a lot of the headaches that were being dealt with that. I understand the intent and what it was meant for, but I think that, as you said, it's been decades for this, and I think as that matures, and also just the tools that we will have in game to monitor things and do things, there's not necessarily a need for that to be completely spelled out. I think we can really, you know, sum it up with a couple of sentences of how, and then it's open to the interpretation, but it really comes down to intent. And that's really one of the things that we're looking at. We'll have more of that as we move closer to release. That's one of the things that Jason and I are working on, but we don't have any of that right now that we can share, other than for us, it's really going to come down to the intent, and if you're ruining other people's, intentionally ruining other people's experience.
Yeah, which is fair enough too. Okay, so will there be a prerequisite for being a guide? Are we looking for MMO experience, customer service experience, pay to play, or otherwise? Also, what will the process of applying for a guide position look like if they are not manually selected from the VIP and above pool?
Yeah, we don't have any of that that we can share at this time, because we don't really have any. Like we said, we don't have a policy in place or a process in place to bring volunteers on in that capacity. I can say that we do know, and we're aware that there are some people that have a natural bent towards wanting to help other people. I mean, that's an awesome person to know, and some of those people, those are the type of people that might want to apply when we have the things open for whatever the thing shows up as, because we really would want people who like to help people and to just, you know, answer questions, or just to be there, because you know those people. You play a game and you're a newbie running around, and there's always somebody who's willing to, you know, take you under their wing and show you how to do things. That's kind of the temperament of the person that we would look for once we have a potential volunteer program.
And those people might not apply. There may be some people that end up being guides that are approached because they're just the right person, and we reach out to them and say, hey, would you like to do this on I wouldn't say a more official capacity, because it's not a paid position, but, you know, they may become part of that team.
Basically, if you be a good, you know, community member, and you'll stand out to us, you'll be noticed by other people. People will put you forward and nominate you, you know, and it'll draw our eyes towards you. So it's just kind of be a good person and help others, and you'll get noticed. unless we need people and we put out an official kind of application form, then it's probably just behave yourself and be kind in game. Alright, so moving on to any thought yet on multi-boxing, not botting, but multi-boxing. And I'm glad you clarified that because they are completely different. I've gone over this for years and years and years. And also I've spoken to several devs, including Jopper, Chris Perkins, who was on for a general Q&A. If you want to go back and listen to that recording, he spoke a little bit about it, as did I. So botting is not tolerated. That's where a program plays the character for you. That will be a bannable offence. Multi-boxing, we're not going to actively stop, but it's going to be very hard to do so with our combat and the way we kind of run things. One person trying to control multiple characters, like say a tank or a DPS and a boxed healer, you're not going to be as good or as efficient as a real healer being played by another player. So we're kind of going to see how it goes in testing as we open it up to alpha and beta to see if it becomes a problem, and then we'll act on it before we launch live. But we don't have a hard answer just yet, other than we're going to watch and see how it turns out. We're not completely against it. We do understand people have strong feelings either side, and so we don't want to commit to a hard decision until we see how it plays out in bigger numbers through alpha and beta. But we will be watching.
Ideally, our combat's going to be such that if you're capable multi-boxer, man, more power to you, because that's going to be some skill.
I can't even do it. I can't even do it by myself. I think I need two people to run my character, because as anybody who knows, in our testing sessions, I'm struggling sometimes. So
to play one.
Problem, though, I think.
No, you do all right, man. All right, so the last question I can see so far is, do we have an ET on PA5, like 2, 3, 4 months away? No. It's soon. It will be sooner rather than later. We just can't give a date yet. But we have spoken internally about a date and about a time frame coming up, which is sooner rather than later. So as soon as we have more on that, we can lock something in. We just need a few more things to fall into place. We'll let you guys know straight away. But it shouldn't be too much longer.
Yeah, we have internal timelines that we're hitting that will dictate that, and so we have an idea, but we don't have a personally. It's not like, well, we just can't tell you because we can't. But even if we don't know the date ourselves yet. So, but yeah, like Kilsin said, we want to show you some of the stuff. We desperately want to play the game with you guys again. So we're all hoping for sooner.
Will there be Oceanic servers at release? I'm not sure. We're still looking into the server kind of structure and how we're going to set that up, where we're going to host them. If we do use Amazon or something like that, cloud service, which we've had great success in kind of checking out, then you can kind of put one up anywhere. Then that's possible, but it'll just totally depend on numbers and yeah, if we got enough people from Australia, New Zealand, and that require their own server.
Want to use, put it in your basement.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there, Ben. It's the more people that we see in those areas, and then we look at, okay, maybe it makes sense to put something there, is really kind of what some of the stuff that the technical team looks at.
Yeah, I understand why Commander's asking, because it affects me as well, being an Australian. Like, the 300 ping plus is annoying, especially when you're, consider yourself a hardcore player or a serious player where you're rating at the top level. Like I used to do. I don't know if I'll still be able to do that, but it did matter. Like, your rotations, you did miss out on things. There were slight delays when you're trying to dodge something, and it was quite frustrating. It's like a constant mini lag. So I understand why you'd want a server closer to your place of living, but it'll just depend on numbers and if it's possible for us to.
So just go make sure you tell all your friends that live there with you that they need to play.
Very good answer.
Then they're guaranteed one. Yeah.
Very good answer. So yeah, the more Aussies and Kiwis and that we get to play, the more likely we'll get our own server, Commando. All right, so I want to play with my wife. Will there be a problem with 2 accounts from one IP?
No.
We have there are many other ways that we can look at for things. We're not going to spill beans on stuff, but IP addresses, as we know, there are so many different ways to spoof IPs and VPNs and everything like that. There are other things we look at.
Yeah, sweet.
We anticipate there being lots of husband and wives and partners and friends and apartments full of people that are playing the game. So yeah, that's not something to worry about.
I had a very serious question from Spoff. Has VR considered moving Australia closer to NA? I've petitioned multiple times for them to send the company jet down, and if they didn't want to buy a company jet to come pick me up, to just move Australia a little bit closer. I'm sure you guys can throw a rope and a hook over and just drag us, but yeah, they won't do it, mate.
Well, I see Molad lurking here in the chat, so maybe he has a way of moving Australia. He seems to be able to move all the other stuff for us and make things happen, so maybe he can do it.
Mate, he's moving mountains to get stuff done behind the scenes, so yeah, if anyone could help move Australia a little bit closer, it would be Molad. Will there be GM events that guides might be able to get involved in?
We hope so. Yes. We hope. We definitely want to be the game that has GM events. I don't know if guides themselves will be involved. I mean, that'd be great, ideally. But there will definitely be GM events. Yes.
Awesome. That would include potentially weddings? Or maybe we'll just let the players do that themselves.
I can actually come down on this one and give a definitive answer for this one, because this is something that we have talked about. We had talked about quite a bit, and it was something that we talked about with Brad. And we really feel that that's something that, as players want to do that, then that should be something we want the players to run and to take part in and build that as part of the social piece of the game. So we can certainly facilitate, like if there's a name change, if that's how we end up doing names, things like that. But we want all of the ceremonies and things like that to really be player run. We want that to build that community.
Yeah, we might show up. Yeah. We might show up for some wedding cake, like afterwards.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, we might jump in and say g'day and hang around. Do some.
Wait, there's cake? Oh, I'll be there. I'll be there if there's cake.
Ogres love cake.
We can hang around for the after party with some GM celebrations and stuff, but yeah, we'd probably leave it up to you guys to do it yourself. If there is a call to open up other regional servers, does VR have the capability to do server transfers?
Yes.
That's
a pretty typical standard service.
Yeah, but how it will be handled is to be determined and discuss later.
Yeah.
You have to probably think more like a lockout basis, because your name's going to matter in the game, and so we don't want people jumping servers willy-nilly because they have a bad reputation, so then there will be some sort of balance to that.
Exactly. Okay, so we might leave it there and leave the last 10 to 12 minutes just for you guys to have a little chat about some information you might like to share.
Yeah, well, I guess what I wanted to kind of touch on is because we actually have been getting quite a few support tickets. People were kind of confused about what was announced, I guess, a couple of streams ago, that when the thing we went out in the newsletter about the name and NPC. So I want to clear up some of this stuff. So the early pledges, I'm talking things that were before October of 2015, there were some really sweet rewards. There was stuff like help us with naming an NPC, name an item, name a point of interest. There was some quest stuff that was in there. Those, obviously, they got shut off in 2015. But the people who have been with us for a long time and been supporters with us, we're starting to gather that information from those people, because we want to start integrating that into the game now, as our designers are going through and populating the world and they're putting things in. They need these names, they need these items, so we're continuing on with these and putting these out. So that's what this is about. It's not the name reservation where you name your character. That will be coming later, and we've got some really cool ideas about that and how that's going to handle. But we don't want anybody to think that they're missing out with naming their character, or are going to lose their character name because of these things. So for those who are on this chat, on this roundtable, who had those early pledges, make sure you look for these other emails coming to you with some little survey thing to fill in, because we will be sending the second one out probably in the next week or so, which is about naming an item.
Yeah, so make sure you have at visionaryrealms.org, or is it .com? No, or .com. Sorry. Whitelisted, because we have had a few bounce back, and we've sent an email to everyone who was eligible to get the first round that we just did, the name and NPC, and we've not gotten anywhere near 100% respondents. So if you pledged before 2015, go double check your email. And like Mike said,
before October of 2015.
Yes, October of 2015. So and the reserve your name thing was what, an April Fool's joke that we got We got a lot of customers.
No, that was the April Fool's one was that we had actually opened up pre-alpha, I think it was. Yeah, that was a great joke for me. I was handling a lot of tickets for that. But these just look for your emails with that. Who knows? I'm continuing to work on one of the other things that I do as part of the many different hats I wear is I work on the different pledge packages, and I do want to revise a lot of the pledge things that we have. While most of you are on here and you're at our VIP, you're at our VIP level, which is awesome, and we love all you guys. We're looking for some of our other folks that are coming in late to the party, or maybe have been looky-loos, and that's one of the things we like to get there. So we'll announce those as they go, but always tell your friends and stuff, and because the more the merrier, and we can make this a reality that much faster for you guys.
Exactly. All right, thank you very much, guys. We'll wrap it up there. I want to say a big thank you to Mike and Jason for taking time out of their very busy schedules to come on and have a chat. And thank you to all of you guys that popped in and listened to us live. We love having you in here, and sharing this with you is a nice VIP privilege, and get to have this live chats and questions pop up. If you have any more questions that weren't answered, or that you want to kind of get more information on, feel free to go back to the thread. I won't be closing it, so you can add to it however you like, and we'll keep an eye on it for the next few days, and then I'll post this up as soon as it's ready in a couple of hours, so people who are asleep or missed it can have a listen, and then I'll release it to everybody in about a week. But a huge thank you to Mike and Jason, and thank you to you guys. We couldn't do all this without you, and yeah, you guys are awesome. We continue to
hey, thanks for having us on, Ben. I know it's been about a year since we were on, and it's always good to get out in front of this. And I want to let everybody know, any issues you guys have or any questions, go ahead and drop us a line at support. And that also goes for if you think that you had a pledge, even if a lot of times if you had an earlier pledge and then you upgraded to become the VIP, you might have been eligible for one of these other perks. So feel free to drop us a support ticket, and we can look into that for you too, because we don't want anybody missing out who was some of the earliest supporters.
Exactly. Thank you very much, guys. We'll see you at the end of next month, and I think next month's going to be Jopper and another guest, so we'll look forward to that, but I'll give you more information a week before. Until then.
Oh, wow, that sounds like a bean salad next month.
It's going to keep me on my toes, I know. But thank you very much, guys.
Thanks.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.